Can't wait to hear about it. Tyler, what do we got up next?
All right, Brandon. This story hit very close to home for me this week.
Okay.
But the U.S. Department of Education announced that it will not allow states to forego the federally required standardized testing in schools this year. So, Brandon, is this an example of A, causing even more stress and frustration for teachers, students, and parents, B, the government continuing to be out of touch with the needs of schools, C, setting impossible expectations when many schools are still virtual, or D, all of the above? And please make sure to completely bubble in your choice with a soft lead number 2 pencil.
That was pretty funny, Tom. I like that a lot. Okay, now I don't know how you and I are going to feel about this because there's teachers in your family, right?
Yes.
So here's what I think, because when I first read the story, I thought, how are you going to do standardized tests when kids haven't been in the class? But then I sat down and thought about it for a few minutes, and I thought, you know what? We do need to have these tests. You know why?
Why?
Because we need to know the implications of this gigantic science experiment that we just ran for the last year and see what impact it has on students so that we know if this was a good idea or a bad idea in what we did. I've been a big proponent of keeping kids in schools. I understand the first couple of weeks trying to figure everything out, but after the 53rd study saying that kids should be in school, I became convinced that kids should be in school, right? I think it's important that we understand the implications of what just happened this year, okay? Do you penalize people for it? No. But since we've been in this mode of running scientific, social experiments all year, why not have a standardized social experiment for this year and see what happens on that test when you take kids out of the classroom for nearly 12 months? I think that it needs accountability is key. The leadership, Fayette County Schools where we're at, they need to have these results. The state needs these results, and the nation needs these results. When this happens again, and it will happen again, there'll be more viruses and things happen. They need to look at these results and say, holy crap balls, Batman, that was a really bad idea. We don't need to do that anymore. So I look at it from that front and not as, okay, we're going to penalize you for not knowing the answer to number 78 on page 43 of the test.
Right.
It's about an experiment to see if this was worth it or not.
I agree that it would be good to know the impact, but that assumes that you can ascertain that information from a standardized test. My whole complaint with standardized tests is that it does a poor job already of gauging where students are. I don't think you can.
Agreed. Agreed.
If you want to know the impact that this has had on kids, go ask their teachers. Go talk to their teachers who have been, in Fayette County, have been back with their kids in school for the first week this year. They can tell you how it's impacted them. Okay,
how has it impacted?
We don't need to spend millions of dollars on a standardized test to try and find out how this has impacted kids, because we already know how it's impacted kids. Kids are going to be behind. I'm sure if you ask any teacher teaching right now, how are your kids right now in the last day of February compared to where they normally are in the last day of February, they're going to tell you they're behind. We don't need millions of dollars to tell us that. And these tests, what we always talk about, finding different ways to evaluate kids besides just multiple choice tests. Hey, some people are just not good at taking multiple choice tests. Well, if you're one of those, well, I guess you're out of luck, because that's the only way we're going to assess you on it is a multiple choice test. Sorry. These tests do not. Then you have kids who don't even care about them, who don't even try. You have the kids like, well, this test has no impact on me. Why should I even try? When I gave tests when I was teaching, you had kids who didn't give two craps about the test. You had some of your smartest kids who wouldn't even try because it did not impact them whether they tried or not. So standardized tests do not work. They do not gauge anything. It's a waste of money. Teachers could be spending this time actually teaching and trying to get the kids back to where they need to be, but instead we're wasting hours and hours and hours and lots of money and resources on these tests instead of actually trying to teach kids.
Tyler, I agree with you 100% on the fact that standardized tests suck. That is not my argument. They suck. They are terrible. I was terrible at standardized tests. However, that's what the government has deemed the way to measure. And we know if that's what they deem to measure, that's what they're going to go by. Mm-hmm. So I agree that they suck and we should change it, but this is what we have right now. So they are terrible. However, when you're looking at future decisions made by like your local county schools, like let's use Fayette County Public Schools because we're here. They have a decision matrix. Okay, we're all familiar with the decision matrix. Let me tell you what can't fit in the decision matrix: anecdotal stories about how kids are behind. They want data points. If they don't have data points and we don't have a way to quantify how bad it is, they can't fit it in their matrix, which is the only way they make a decision. It's very evident they don't listen to the anecdotal stories about kids not logging on, the fact that failing grades have tripled in Fayette County schools.
Yep.
That didn't work. So as a parent, I'm thinking, okay, well, if these stories about kids crying during their Zoom meetings, people not logging on, and kids not learning don't work, we need a quantifiable number to say, okay, between 2019 and 2020, here's how much the points dropped. And it's a standard across the board. I agree that they're terrible, and they're a waste of time and money. But there's no other way to get the story of the kids into a decision matrix other than to have a number, which is stupid. The fact that I think everyone at Fayette County Public Schools that makes decisions should resign is a total other topic because of their failed leadership, and the fact that they ruined these kids' lives for 12 months over the fact that they didn't want them to go back in is another story. Total piss poor leadership. You have to do the standardized test, though. It's the only way to speak to these people.
Yeah, which is unfortunate that this is. I mean, this is the metric because it's the easiest metric to use. I mean, it gives you clear. Okay, kid either got this question right or they got this question wrong. They either scored in this group or they scored in this group. Okay, here's male versus female. Here's white versus black versus it just makes everything in neat little data points.
Exactly.
That look nice on paper but aren't a true reflection.
Why can't we just teach kids?
Yeah.
Don't teach kids to the test.
How did we ever teach
them
before these tests? I don't know. How did they ever do it?
It's dumb. I don't like it at all.